Here's the Peak Design Roller Pro carry-on in Sage, and next to it is the Manfrotto Pro Light Reloader Spin-55. I'm also just gonna reference this TravelPro Platinum Elite 21-inch carry-on because it's a very well reviewed, used, normal carry-on luggage that's roughly the same size as these two. So it's a good way to compare what you can get if you're not looking specifically for a camera carry-on. I'm not going to include the prices because that's often changes, and depending on where you are in the world, it could be pretty big. I will just say that the Peak Design is typically double the cost of the Manfrotto here. And the Manfrotto you can often find on sale, but if it's not on sale, the price is pretty high, I think, compared to what you can get with the Peak Design. And then the TravelPro here has always been affordable until recently. I've seen prices of this bag now equivalent to the Manfrotto, and that's bad because it should not be that expensive, but that's just the way things are at the recording of this video. What's great about the Peak Design is, number one, it just looks really cool, especially in the sage green. I like this military olive green type of color, and the wheels are phenomenal. If you compare these wheels to the wheels on the Manfrotto, and these have been used because I have another video that where I talk about the Manfrotto, and I have used it on several jobs now. And these wheels, I tried to clean them for this video, but these are kind of tiny compared to the wheels on the Peak Design. However, I've heard some reviews saying that this might be a con because it's a little too slippery. With the Manfrotto and the TravelPro, when you stand these up and you roll these about, once you stop it, it stops. But with the Peak Design, when you roll it, it's so easy to roll that I've seen some reviews complain that if they don't hold on to their Peak Design, it will just drift off. The handle on the Peak Design is probably the best out of all three of these bags because it's carbon fiber. The way it's positioned, it is very durable, and you don't see it slip at all. There's a little bit of give when you have it at its max, so you do feel some twists and some non-stability here, but for the most part, this is pretty solid versus the Manfrotto here. When you deploy the handles, they feel like the cheapest part of the whole bag, and it's very flimsy. And when I was traveling with this, I did feel like it might break off. The TravelPro handle is very well made. It's quite solid, not as good as the Peak Design, but this is as good as I think it gets with this kind of luggage at this price range. On the sides of the Peak Design bag, you have lashes that you can attach various things to. You have one zipper that goes all the way around to expand the bag if you need to expand the bag. Here's the smaller pocket. Smaller pocket opens up, and it's very similar to their slings. And this is where you can put in a laptop. There's a magnetic divider, and then here you can put in some accessories with these two small little pouches here. Open this up. The difference with this design compared to the other ones is that this has what Peak Design is calling a drawbridge opening. So when I open this up, there's some plastic releases here that prop the lid up, and it holds its position. And you can see here, I purchased the extra large camera insert. This is the camera protection right there. So this is an extra expense. It does increase the price of this whole bag because it does not come with it. But if you saw my other video about the Manfrotto, the reason why I wanted to get these kinds of bags is because of the insert, and I wanted sort of like a 2-for-1 when I travel. I want to put all my expensive camera gear in here, and then if it's too large to take on the airplane, I want to be able to remove the camera insert and then check this baggage onto the check-in, but always have my camera gear with me. Now the problem with this one is that there are some handles on the side here. They're more like lashes, a little bit of handles, but there's no backpack strap. So I wish this was able to convert to a backpack or a handheld luggage that if I did need to separate it and put it in an airplane, I would feel way more protected and I can carry it around. But here is a huge cavern in the middle. Peak Design's intention is for you to buy their packing cubes and other smaller accessory bags. So even though this is one large compartment without any smaller bags inside, they want you to buy their other bags, or you don't have to get Peak Design. You can get other bags and pack in cubes, and that's how you would probably want to optimize your storage and your travel. And these are lashes here that hold the top open, but these can also be used to string the bag together. And then this is also used to attach the camera insert. There's some lash points. So that's how you really lock it in, but you don't have to. And then up here you have mesh pockets that are nice, and then this large opening. Whatever you wanted to insert, you have room here. So even though you can open up in here and it feels like it opens up into this pocket, but it actually doesn't, you still have your laptop area completely covered, and then the smaller accessory pockets here are over here. You can see this. There's nothing that could leak out when you open this part of the bag. I already did a review of the Manfrotto, so I'm gonna do this one pretty quickly, but you have one pocket up here. This opens up, you could insert your laptop, it goes all the way down. And then here is another pocket where you can access inside, which reveals the camera insert. The Manfrotto does not expand, and there's a harder shell on the top and bottom. Right here, you have a TSA lock. You don't have a TSA lock on the Peak Design. And then when you open the Manfrotto, it opens up like a clamshell. And you have, this is more like a standard piece of luggage, how it opens. You have two pockets here, one mesh see-through, one you don't see through. Here's the opening that opens from the front here. And then this is the camera insert that is made specifically for this Manfrotto because it's curved. I'll take this out. This insert is perfectly curved to fit right here in the Manfrotto case. So once you remove it, this becomes a normal piece of luggage. If you can see here, it looks just like any other regular luggage, nothing special to cameras. It's only when you have their specially foamed and formed insert that it really takes advantage of all of that smaller space, because the Manfrotto is smaller than the Peak Design here. Peak Design's larger. But it looks like you can fit the maximum amount of stuff for this size. And these are really well-made dividers. It feels good. It maybe even feels better than the Peak Design. Although the Peak Design, this is pretty much the same as all their other bags. And finally, just to look at the TravelPro, when you open this up, there's a small little lid here. I guess you can put a laptop in one of these out here. And then that you can put in, if you have clothing like coats and stuff, that's what that's for. And here is a pretty standard way to put in luggage if you have a normal suitcase. Nothing special. You get some pockets here, other mesh. This is to cinch down your clothes, to compress it, and you have that little inside space. With this camera insert from Peak Design, this top lid, it is padded, but right here, you can remove this pad on the inside and then have this top lid completely open and folded. So that way when you put it into the carry-on, this is gonna be folded and underneath. So when you open up, as soon as you open up the lid, direct access to your camera gear. If you wanted that, if you don't want that and you're a little more paranoid, then you could have that go down as well. The biggest con for me with the Peak Design is that it is quite heavy. Heavier than these two bags. Now, if you go on their websites and see what they say these weigh, you'll get a slightly different weight. But when I weighed these myself, the TravelPro was under 8 pounds. The Manfrotto here was 8.48 pounds with the camera insert. If you take the camera insert out, it was 6.4 pounds. The Peak design, if you left that camera insert in there, it was 11.18 pounds. And if you take the camera insert out, it was 8.8 pounds. That's with nothing in the bag. And that is pretty significant when you're hauling camera gear, because on airplanes, the weight limits, they do matter. And when you do carry-on, not a lot of airlines actually weigh your carry-ons. But if you can't physically lift it into the overhead bin, that's a problem. When I was using the Manfrotto, I would have this fully loaded with gear, my laptop, and other accessories there. I basically maxed it out, and it was 35 pounds, around 35 pounds, 35-ish pounds with this setup. I can only imagine how heavy this is gonna be when I fully load it. It might hit 45 pounds or more, which I can't lift that on an overhead bin. And if any flight attendant tries to lift it up, they're gonna discover, whoa, that is way too heavy, and then they're gonna make you check it in. But if you're not fully loading it out with heavy gear, then that wouldn't be a problem. But to me, I already noticed the weight on the Peak design being significantly heavier than the Manfrotto. The Manfrotto, it's both size-wise, it's smaller, but it fits a lot, and it's way more manageable if you have a smaller body frame and you can't lift that heavy. The Manfrotto's, I think, still viable, and I would use Manfrotto in different situations than the Peak design. Just because I got this Peak design bag doesn't mean I'm gonna ditch this Manfrotto. No, when I have different jobs that require a smaller amount of gear or the weight really matters, I'm gonna take the Manfrotto. But when the weight doesn't matter as much, this Peak design is pretty awesome.